So this is Baruch Fleischman, and I am here at the Tikkun Elevator Kol Elevator. Please Hashem that you will join me in my pitiful efforts here to try to understand the words of the great Rabbi, the ARI Kodesh, Rabbi Yitzchak Luria Ashkenazi. So here we got to a place where we were talking about the distance and how you have to, the distance before a yichud could be made after Rosh Hashanah. Again, briefly, that if Adam Rishon would have had his intercourse at the right time, that was in Shabbos Kodesh, all the worlds would become aligned. But he didn't. Instead, Taiva took over, he and his wife. And they had such a hunger for each other that they immediately went to Yichud 3 hours before Shabbos would start. As a result of that, the whole clock of all humanity, of all we call physical beings, had to be changed. As a result of that, before you can get a yichud, you have to pass through the Aseres Yimei Tshuva. You have to go through Yom Kippur, where there's a tremendous sweetening that takes place, and then Sukkot, which is bringing in Chesed, and then finally yichud at Shmini Aseres. This yichud is really not an eternal yichud; it's the yichud Shanasi. It's a yearly yichud. So actually, they have mentioned that there are really two different major yichudim that take place in what we call the yichud shanasi. One is the yichud that takes place now at Shmini Atzeres, and the other one is the one that takes place at Shavuos. It's a completely different type of year. So we're moving right now into a different timing system. So let's see what we're going to say. I'm going to start at this phrase right here in the words of the Rav. It says, "Ratzoni v'harchi v'bir b'zera inyan." Now I want to get into this more. He says that ki bechinas kol ha'chadashim hein b'malchus. The concept of the months are found in malchus. Aval nechlochen l'shtei bechinas, but they're divided into two different aspects. So all of this malchus is manifest in two different ways. Ha'echad hu b'hi yosef b'tzad atzma. That is by itself, looking at it itself. We'll have to see what that means. So here's what he said was, he says Atzma refers to Malchus as female. Malchus is the absorber, the recipient of everything. Then there's another one, Asheni Hu B'tzad Zocher, but there's also a yichud that takes place on the side of the male. The Moshe is Bar Bezes Hashem, and he wants to get into this more. He said, "B'dav ki kol chadashim nekroim Rosh Chadashim, Rosh Chadashim." That all of the months, as I guess as they begin, they're called the beginnings of months or the heads of months. The Vishakulim Hein Bechinas Rosh, because all of them concept of Rosh. Now, question is, what does Rosh mean exactly? Commotion is Boyer. That's my question. So exactly how we're going to see this. And we're going to come down here. We're going to look at number Kaf Vav, and the Kaf Vav says like this. So now he wants to talk about the idea that we understand is that the nukva, that is Malchus, is full of dinim. Malchus receives the dinim from Zeranpin, and she's full of gevuros. Another word for that is gevuros. Now we're going to talk about the dinim in the nuk. Shanim talking about Rosh Hashanah, but on Rosh Hashanah these get sweet. The Inyan and the Sira, then we're going to need to talk about the removal of the Nukva, who was normally attached to their Anpin back to back. Pagam Inyan, Pagam Adab Rishon, and also we're going to have to talk about the Pagam that was caused by Adab Rishon, Masha Nigrom Al Yado, and what was caused as a result of his mistakes. His mistake, their mistake. Chodesh Hu Bechinas Malchus. So the concept of Chodesh, or month, but it's also a concept of renewal. We understand it's Chadash, the Vishanikra Yareach, because since it's called by the name Yareach, the Yareach Merabas the Malchus, it's also a reference to Malchus Shanim Shadol the Lavana, which could compare to the moon. So now we have Chodesh, we have the word Yareach, and we have the word Lavana. These are all, he says, these are the same ideas. This is reflected light. So he says, so we see that there is a female aspect to the month. So we understand that the months can be divided into two different aspects. Because in the nukva herself, there are many different bechinos. So the first aspect are those months shehem shal chanuk mitzad atzma, which refer to the months that refer to Malchus herself. He said that Bachinach Hashniya he osim echadashim shehem shal hanuk, but is the months that are from the nuk. Avo einem mitzad atzma, but they're not coming. In other words, they're always Malchut's dike. But avo einem mitzad atzma, but they're not months that come from Malchus herself. But she actually, they're in Zer Anpen min Azar Dachar, who is Zer Anpen, and he says, Kama Okufi, she is Bar Law. Now he's going to get into it more as we go along. Now there's one more in this section, and it says, Chodesh hu b'bechinas Malchus. Now, as I said that before, the concept of month is a concept of Malchus. Malchus is like, she contains within herself, in her Rosh, the entire 30 days or 29 days, or however we count, the days are all inside of that Malchus, and then they become distributed or unfolded as the days progress. Rosh Chodesh hu Rosh HaMalchus. So the Rosh Chodesh is the head of this Malchus. So of course we understand that the months are many days. Lamed or Kaf Tes Yom. And this is what I had said. He says all of them, this is what he wants to say, this is the reason why we have the word Rosh, because it means at the beginning. All of them incorporated in the first day of the month. Shehu HaRosh Shalachem, which is their head. Kamo Gufa Adam, like for example, the body of a man, which has many different parts. But all of them really follow after the head of the person. And so, since every concept of the, he says, excuse me, I read it wrong. That the entire month, all the days of the month, they're all in the first day. So they're all of the months, therefore. We consider them to be the head of Malchus. Now, when you say the head, it means that Malchus is at the top. That's where everything is at the top, and then they're going to flow downwards. They're going to flow out through the months. Very interesting. So let's go to number Lamed Bet, which is up above. So he says, "V'naskil b'shisha chodshei hakayit." So let's start talking about, first of all, the 6 months of the summer. Ki heim b'nukva, because the summer months are when he says they're from the nukva. And they begin in the month of Nisan. It comes from the month of Nisan. Like Torah says, so this is going to be the beginning of the month. This is a machlokas that we have other places. And since the general rule is all of the months will be inside of Malchus. That's what we said before. Malchus is the home of the months. Okay, Maskil Techida b'Nisan. So therefore, we began originally from Nisan, who Rosh the Kodoshim, which is really the first of all the months. We always consider that Nisan, which is Aries, also is the beginning of the month. Then he goes on and he says like this, Achadashim and Nikrayim b'Shem Rosh. Now we know that the months are called by the name of head. Just as we say that the body, so to speak, is all of it is incorporated in or controlled really by the brain, or the head. All of the different portions of the body, there are many, many different portions of the body or pieces of the body, but they're all tied to the beginning. They all follow after the lead of the head. Like the rabbi said like this, Gufa Basa Resha Garera. So the body follows after the head. So he said, this is the same thing with the month. Shakola Besocha, as called Yemei HaChodesh, that it has within it, just like the head, it has the control mechanism of everything else. Shehem Misper Yamim Rabim, which is the concept, of course, you have lots of different days in a month. There's either 29 or 30, like we know. Number Lamed Hey, and we'll go up to the top. So he said, Vihine, Nisan hu Gulgolas Sanikev. So Nisan is actually means the skull, means the top of the head, or the basic structure of the head, the top part of the head, of the female aspect of the ear. Ear, then Sivan, then you go Ear, then you go Sivan. Train Udnim, they represent the two ears. Tammuz Va'av, those two. Trin Einim Dilah, they represent the her two eyes. So therefore we see that in these 2 months, we saw that the base of Mikdash was destroyed twice. Besod Eini Yordemayim, so that's my eyes, it's two eyes, two sets of eyes. Yordemayim, tears fall out, water flows from my eyes. Kihem Trin Einim, because they mean the two eyes. Kochos Hadin, these are the powers of Din. Now let's look a little bit more closely into number Lamed Hey, and here is Lamed Hey down here at the bottom. It says, he said, Shishas Chadashim Shal Yemos Sakayat, the 6 months of the summertime. This runs from Nisan ad Elul, through Elul. Nechlalim Rosh Nook. These are all found originally in the head of the Nook, Ba'ofen Zeh. Chodesh Nisan hu keneged the Gogola Shal Anok. So the month of Nisan is her skull. Chodshi Ear, so the month of Ear, Sivan. Those two, Nechlalim Barosh Hanuk, they're also part of the head of the Rook. Keneged Shnei Aznaim Shabal. So the light, let's say, so to speak, that is in this Rosh spreads into the ears. Kasha Chodesh Ear Keneged Ozin Yamim, and the ear would be the right ear. The Chodesh Sivan Keneged Ozin, small is like the left ear. Going on, he says, Chodesh Tammuz Va'av, so those 2 months, which we understand at the times of the breaching of the walls, or at least at the second temple, but the two temples are destroyed. He says, Chodesh Tammuz Av Nechlalim Barosh Hanuk. They're incorporated into the head of the Nuk, Keneged Shtei Einayim Shalah, they correspond to her two eyes. Kasher Chodesh Tammuz Keneged Ayin Yamid, Tammuz is the right eye. The Chodesh Av corresponds to the left eye. The Sivas Hiyos Chodesh Tammuz V'Av Keneged Einayim, so for the reason that these two correspond to the eyes, so we see that this is the time of the tears that come out from the eyes, and that's the destruction of the temple. The concept of my eyes, their water is pouring out. And this is a remnant to the two eyes that refer to Tammuz and Av. Because the eyes are the secret of the power of Din. We'll go along. I'm just going to learn this a little bit later. Now let's do one more, and let's see what we can do with the last part. Gavarnis Barat Lema Bagdamas Bir Idris Azino. So this is something that we saw in the Idra by those of us who have been following through this class. He said, Ki Ayinayim Haim Netzach and Ho. The eyes over there, they say, belong to Netzach and Ho. L'chein Nechrach Habayis Igor Korban B'Chodesh Av. So therefore, that's therefore this time when the bias is destroyed, the main root of the destruction itself comes in the month of Av, Shuhu Ayin small, which is a left eye, and understand that left is Din. Shuhu HaHod, which is a place of Hod. So Kol Hayom David. So David is really the word Hod. If you switch it one, Shu Hefet Osios Hod. So let's learn this number where we are here, number Lamed Tes, and see what Tiv has to think. The Issa B'Shar Mamari Rashbi. So in that sefer you see B'Chakdama L'Idrizuta. Ki Netzach and Hod Atik, the Netzach and Hod of Atik. Where are they? Now this is in Panemius of Eric Otpin. Yesh Bechem Shtei Bechinos. They have two different aspects to them. Ha'achams Mekusa V'Choshnia Migdegela. So one of them is covered over, and the second one is Niglis, is revealed. So the part that is revealed, which is those aspects of Netzach and Hod, that's the concept of the two legs. This lavshu betrin einin the Abba ve'ima. So the two legs of, so to speak, of Atik Yomim are now in the eyes of Abba ve'ima. The nimsa shashor shanayim hu b'netzach and Hod. So we see that the concept of eyes over there, we could find that in Netzach and Hod. Number Mem. He says the fichoch, where we are here, the main place where the destruction that took place was during that month. Shuhu ayin small, which is the left eye, the lie of din, the abba ve'ima, shegeneged regel hod the atik, which really corresponds to that hod in atik. Incidentally, today is Thursday, is Yom Chamishi, which is the day of hod. The hod the ramas al the horban k'lohomon, so hod is a remiss to that. Number Mem Aleph, Churban Beis Hamikdash, so the destruction of the Beis Hamikdash, Nirmaz B'Sfirat Hod, as we had said before, Kamosha Konim Yirmiyahu, like we had in the kingdom from Yirmiyahu, Nasane Shemama Kol Yom Dov. So they gave me Shemama, desolation, destruction, Kol Yom Dov, all the day of Dov. Dov means what? It means a solution of death. It's the word Hod. Ki ha-churban kuba b'chinas dove. Churban, the structure, is a concept of dove. Shaha'osius shalo hem keneged hod. They record the kamo hod. Elishahem muchufachos, but you switch the letters around. Kafi shenirmas b'posiv v'hodi nehefach olai. That my glory, that's what hodi there, but now we're talking about the sphere of hod. The hefach olai is turned around on me. The mashkis, in order to become a destroyer. So this also kind of turned to this concept of depth. And so that's a share here today, and we're moving along little by little in Rosh Hashanah, trying to get an idea of the depth that we deal with. This is Baruch Fleischer.